I was just getting home. I still have the thing on. I suppose I could loosen it up now, but then I just look like a bum. Instead, I look like I dressed up for our event, which is cool.
Well, no, you look like an old school grouse hunter, with the tie.
Respect for the birds,
Yeah,
respect for the habitat.
Back in the 30s.
That's right.
Wait till you see our new button-down shirt that you'll be able to wear with the tie. You'll be all over that, Dr.
That's
Jones.
what I'm talking about, buddy. That's what I want.
Blaze orange and all.
Even got it in a nice light gray. It's going to be very dapper. You're going to want to wear it to all your events, Glenn.
Let me know when I can buy one.
I will definitely do that.
You probably have my credit card number on file, or you should.
We don't, our system doesn't store any credit cards. So like if people want to get extra things, like if you place an order and you call me up, say, hey, can you add a pair of gloves to it? Unfortunately, our system doesn't allow to do that.
Well, that's well planned.
It is. I mean, that way there's,
no
hey,
security issues.
Exactly. Knock on wood. We've been doing this been selling stuff for this to be our 5th season, and knock on wood. I'm not gonna say anything else.
Are we supposed to be live?
We are live.
Oh, hi everybody.
There's not many people on yet, but we're live. We got 20 on right now.
Well, that's good. That's more than Ronnie gets on most of his shows.
Oh,
wow.
That really
Wow.
hurts. That really hurts. Hurts.
People are filtering in. We'll give everyone a few minutes before we stop picking on Ron.
You can pick on me all day long because I can take it.
He's good for it.
I am like a white oak tree in my woods. The black oak trees lose limbs. The wind knocks them down. And that white oak with that taproot, you can't mess with that taproot. Ben knows. Ben's a forester. He knows what the taproot is.
Your taproot is directly into a Miller Lite can, though, right?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Oh,
I could. The only thing on this property stronger than me is the white oak.
And your wife.
Well, that doesn't count.
We have a giant white oak here at our place, and it's one of the first things I noticed when I pulled up the drive when it was available and we were looking to get it, and it's right across the drive, right at the corner of the barn. So it's like it is really this anchor at this point of the property. And man, I know what you mean, Ron. That thing it owns that space, and I feel like it's holding half of that hillside in just right there.
Yeah, there is one in Virginia right near my house, and the cows all slept underneath it. It was so big. Like in any hot day, there'd be 50 cows under the shade of that white oak tree. It was one of them I'll guarantee it had musket balls in it.
Oh yeah.
And they planted one in Bridgewater, Virginia, that's 300 years old. And I looked at that one and this one, and there's no size difference. It's just iconic. Yeah. I guess they used to make the mast for sailing ships out of white oaks. Imagine that.
Yeah, it's in high demand right now for whiskey barrels. I mean, high demand.
So Ben, where were you today?
I was in Washington, D.C.
Washington with an R?
Yep, as they say in my family's home country is northwestern Pennsylvania. It's Washington. I was in DC today.
My mom was from Central Illinois, and she said Warsh.
Mm-hmm.
Never said wash. Warsh.
Yeah.
In
East Coast.
Washington, it was Washington.
That's where I was.
I said, Mom, there's no R in there. Were you cutting trees down, or what were you doing?
Man, ultimately, that's the goal of everything I do every day,
Just to cut a tree down.
Whack them and stack
both
them.
professionally and
Whack 'em and
personally.
stack
The ultimate end goal. Although I wasn't running a chainsaw in Washington D.C. today, we had some really good meetings that hopefully are going to lead to fruitful things for RGS and our ability to deliver more habitat. That's why I went down there. It was kind of on a short notice thing yesterday afternoon, about 2 or 3 o'clock, which where I live in central Pennsylvania, in addition to being in good proximity to a lot of things, RGS, it's pretty nice that you can do that because I can be in DC. If traffic's not like it was on my way home, I can be to DC in about under 3 hours.
Oh, really?
But it was a disaster on the way home. It took way longer than that. But anyway, yeah, I was in DC.
All
So
right, we're at 70. Ron, we're gonna interrupt you here and
yeah.
start the same. We can continue
I'll,
talking about what Ben's doing, but I want to get everyone started here and welcome everyone to our live Birds and Brew. We've got quite a few people on right now. People checking in, saying hi. A lot of Brandons up front there, but yeah, welcome everyone. We'll go around probably real quick for everyone just to introduce. I think most people on here are gonna know who we are, but I'm Dave with Pike Gear. I'll be answering your questions on the live chat on YouTube. So if you have questions, comments, just want to say hello, drop that in the chat on the YouTube live page there, and we'll pass along anything you have. And we're gonna do some trivia later, right, Ron?
Oh yeah, and I'm expecting a couple of people on this meeting to get 100% of the questions correct. Yeah.
Well, we want the audience to get them correct because Brent, we're going to give away something, right?
Yeah, for sure. You know, Ron, I live by the motto that C's get degrees from college. I'm not like Dr. Jones over there that actually has gone all the way through education. I barely made it through my education.
You guys just
So don't
mentioned
expect to question
trivia,
me.
and I started like wigging out, getting really nervous. I am awful at trivia, and remembering trivia is, trivial pieces of information, and my simple brain only has so much space, so those trivial pieces just like they get thrown out. After I took the civics test in 11th grade or whatever, some of those facts just went out the window if I didn't use them again within the next couple weeks. So people say trivia and I'm like, oh no, I'm terrible at trivia.
This is tailor-made for RGS.
I'm still nervous.
So there's even more pressure now,
nervous.
Ben.
I'm so nervous.
I'm scared.
Oh, we got a lot. We got quite a few people on here now. We got people from Maine. That's awesome. Bangor, Maine. Some local guys here. Garrett Johnson's on.
Those are the people that should participate in trivia with the chance to win something. And so that, I don't know if I ever told you guys, I'll try to make it really short. I've been to tons of banquets since I was a teenager, NWTF, RGS, all across the board. I've never won a gun or anything at these things with the raffles, door prizes, nothing, zero zip zilch. So the summer after I became CEO at RGS, I went to a Southern Appalachians banquet down around Johnson City, Tennessee. Was hanging out with them and bought a couple card raffles with a friend of mine from North Carolina that was there. And lo and behold, don't I win a gun? And I'm walking up to claim my prize, the first ever prize. And I'm like, oh crap, I got to give this thing back. The first gun I ever won my entire life.
Looks
I knew
like-
that it would
Like
appear that the
Chicago,
fix,
looks like Chicago nepotism to me.
that would have been it. I would have been shunned and beat and kicked out of there. So I went up and I put hands on the gun and then I gave it back and they raffled it off for another $600. I was like, it's pretty cool.
Good.
Only thing I ever won.
That's sad. That's sad. It's a good story, but it's sad. Sad. We're not all.
Couple people from Maine here. I got to get out to Maine.
Are the Carters on there by any chance?
Who?
Anybody by the last name of Carter in Maine?
Not seeing anybody Carter so far. Carter's you there? Check in.
No, just friends of mine up there.
Unless Ron's gonna make fun of you, then don't check in.
No, they just have a heavy accent.
Just have a heavy accent.
Like a Uper accent, or just what's a
Oh,
mean
like
accent?
The park, the car,
Really?
you know, that all like da 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 da. You know,
My mom down in Florida, one of her friends, her neighbor friends, is Dawn from Boston, and he was talking about Bob, and she says, "There's no Bob up here." He's like, "Yeah, Bob upstairs," and she's like, "There's no Bob that lives upstairs." She's like, "Bob," and she's like, "You mean Barb?" He's like, "Yeah, Bob."
I have to be able to understand them all, and when you're traveling around for RGS, because I could be in Maine one day and within the same week potentially in northern Georgia, and then up to the UP or in central Minnesota. And man, I think it's pretty cool to think about the dialects and locally, and it's always something I've been interested, even within my home state of Pennsylvania, the differences in local dialects across the state. And I pick them up really quick. If I spend more than a couple weeks in a place, I start to pick them up.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah,
I
same
can pick up
way.
a southern accent. I can pick up a southern accent real quick.
Yeah.
We don't have Ben's
I hear you,
muted,
Glenn.
or Glenn's
I do
muted.
I
If you
do
hear
that.
someone say yins, they're from Pennsylvania, north central
Yins?
Pennsylvania. Yins,
Jens, what is Jens?
Ewans.
You
Yuns.
No.
Isn't that more Minnesota? I thought that was up that way too.
Use.
No,
Use is
That's
the
use?
UP, Minnesota,
Use.
Wisconsin thing. Use
Okay.
guys.
Use guys. They say that in Chicago. We grew up with you guys. Use guys. I do that when I go to like a Dunkin' Donuts. All of a sudden, I develop this funny accent, like "Thank you very much." It's weird. It's like every time I go through the drive-through, my dialect changes. Pretty much.
Only
Thank you.
at Dunkin' Donuts.
Huh?
Only at Dunkin' Donuts.
Only at Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know why.
do you buy corn muffins or donuts?
No, just getting a coffee,
Oh, okay.
cream, sugar, 2 cream, 2 sugar. That's all. I can't help it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that likes cream and sugar in my coffee still, Ron. I get teased by other people about that.
You too.
Oh.
Like when Ben came down to hunt with me, he drinks black coffee. It's like, God, he's such a man.
He looks like such a boy without that beard now.
He
I
looks
know.
good.
Looks like Boy Wonder.
He looks good. That scraggly ass beard he grew was terrible.
No way. At Pheasant
Oh.
Fest, that thing was glorious.
Oh,
It stood out across the room.
he looked like he was homeless.
It is an absolute even split. So the beard for me is like this politician thing where you just stay right in the middle. And this conversation, so I shaved it a day or two ago. Like the numbers are falling in an exact 50-50 split. And if I take people who really, really matter, my wife being one, she's like, "Oh my God, you shaved your beard. What the hell?" She likes me better with the beard.
Really?
Yes.
Did she give you a quarter in the morning and tell you to get a job or anything?
Hey, that thing's sharp, and I keep it nice. I take care of it.
Man, you look like you look like you're in a play with, trying to play Abe Lincoln when you got.
I didn't come on here for this. Aren't we going to talk about RGS?
We should.
Let's talk
Yeah, we
about
are.
habitat.
Ready, Dave?
We can get into that now. Yeah, sure. We're going strong. We're almost to 100 people live current. So
All right, let's
we've
go.
had quite a few people in and out. So let's get this ball rolling. Like I said, I introduced myself. Who else we got? Why don't we go around here? Just give us who you are. And I think most people know, and then we'll take it away and let Ben kind of give us a rundown.
I'm Brent Pike with Pike Gear. So thanks everybody for joining us tonight. Look forward to talking to you guys about all the cool habitat things that RGS has got going on, and hopefully we'll have some fun tonight and before the summer kicks off.
I'm Glenn Blackwood, working development for RGS out of Michigan, and work closely with Pike and have teamed together, and want to thank Pike for all of their support, not only with things like this, but through our habitat days and sponsoring grouse camp coming up and other things. So thank you all for joining this evening and supporting RGS and AWS.
Take it away, Ben.
Hey, Ben Jones with Ruffed Grouse Society, President and CEO, calling in here this evening from my home base, the home outpost office in South Central Pennsylvania.
And I am Ron Boehme, your co-host for the trivia tonight, that we're going to see if anybody can win something from Pike Gear. And we're also going to check on how much you know about ruffed grouse later tonight.
We like to consider Ron our color commentary.
Kind of like Joe Rogan at the MMA fights. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, come on,
All
let's
right.
go.
Well,
let's kick it off.
Yeah,
What's
let's go.
going on?
So I think the important thing, we invited Ben on here to kind of give us, last time we were on, we talked about some of kind of the local forester type applications that are going on with Ruffed Grouse Society. And so this time we brought Ben in to give us kind of an overview of the organization and kind of, his vision for it and what has happened in the last couple of years. Obviously it's been a pretty hectic few years in the past. And, obviously he's got, I'm hoping, a plan for the future, and a plan that, he can kind of give some vision to, so that, as you are watching this, you can say, hey, look, this is what I'm on board with, and this is why I want to get involved. So, the ultimate goal is that people watch this, and if they're not already a member and involved, that this will push them toward that direction. So Ben, why don't you give us just a little bit of background on what you're doing and where we're headed?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Dave and Brent, for having us on, and also sponsoring the last event, which is a good segue to this one, kind of starting out with some of the details of what's being done in Michigan. And I think that's a really good example and a place to start to talk about overall what's been going on for RGS. So when we got things reorganized and trying to come out of COVID stronger than we entered was kind of our motto, and redesigning our habitat delivery system. One of the keys to that was our forest conservation directors. And so we started with John Staggerwald, and I think John was on that last episode with you all, and he started building out that team. And that was the whole idea, that we would bring the forest conservation directors in. They wrote business plans for each of their regions. And then as they were building that program, then the signs of that growth were going to be that there was too much work to do, that they needed to start bringing on additional staff. So that's what we're seeing in Michigan, where we've got John as the forest conservation director. Y'all got to meet Larry Partridge, if you were on last time, as the state forestry coordinator in Michigan, because there were so many opportunities popping up that John needed to hire a state coordinator. He also, at the same time, needed to hire a state coordinator for the state of Minnesota. And he has 6 staff and a private lands coordinator working in the state of Wisconsin. So these staff additions, and having Larry on the last episode here, is an example of how we're growing. And not just growing for growth's sake, but growth for us means there are habitat opportunities that we can start to capitalize on. And in Michigan, that means where we previously had very few active agreements at landscape scale on national forests in Michigan, currently we have active agreements, shared stewardship and other forest service programs on all national forests. And this is almost, it's 3.53 to called 3.5 to 4 million acres of national forest, public lands in the state of Michigan. So we're on the Huron-Manistee, the Ottawa, the Hiawatha. So there's a lot going on, and we take that same idea and can carbon copy it to other places. I mentioned Staggerwald also hiring a state coordinator in the state of Michigan. Ben Larson in the Mid-Atlantic just hired a state coordinator in the state of Pennsylvania. So these staff additions really mean that business is good and we're teed up to deliver more habitat, which is, that's what this thing is all about. And, you said if people are on here and they're not a member, I mean, that's what we want to get them excited about. And we can have awesome hats and other things. And, here's a nice one, get with your membership. But to us and the core of our members, it's really about that core of our mission, that's habitat delivery. And so that's really growing, and it's exciting to see.
Hey, Ben, I have a question. When
Yeah.
you came in, there was like a model before, and you kind of, I don't want to say turned it on its head, but, and I don't want to try to dig up a ghost out of a closet, but what weren't we doing enough of? Was it contacting the national, did we not have the staff at RGS to contact? How did this like all of a sudden get into all the national forests? Because that's like a whole federal level. Like, is it something we didn't have before?
No, I don't want to say it was something we didn't have before. It was just maybe a change in focus. It was definitely bringing in some different skill sets for sure, and just really regrouping and just dialing in on our mission of habitat delivery and looking at what had been done. 2 years ago, we had our 60th anniversary. So I had this opportunity to look at 60 years and, okay, what have we learned across that 60 years in our ability to deliver habitat? So it wasn't that there was anything wrong or anything needed to be thrown out. It was just the ability to learn off of those things and to double down. So for me, we were talking about this as we're fixing to go live. You have to be absolutely focused on the core of your mission. And for the Ruffed Grouse Society and American Woodcock Society, that is habitat. And more specifically, it's forest habitat. So in this larger space of all the other conservation groups that are out there, of course, your DUs, your Pheasants Forever, Quail Forever, Delta, the forest space is really where we specialize. So what happened is we just doubled down on that mission focus. And it's easy at times to get distracted from that, but it wasn't anything was wrong in the past. It was just learning from what we had been doing, adjusting and doubling down on mission.
Right. Because it seems like it's just like 5-6 fold now, right? With all the projects going on, which is great.
Yeah. So one of the numbers that really stands out and that I cite fairly often is looking back in the 20 teens and going into 2020, each year we were pulling in somewhere around $450,000 per year of that direct on the ground mission funding. So coming into August, almost the end of the year 2021, we had gone from about 450,000 per year to 4.5 million.
Yeah.
In direct funded agreements, which is how we get a lot of this work done for on the ground habitat. And right now on the books, we've got about $10 million in direct mission funding to do that on the ground work. Now, the thing that's really important here is that doesn't draw from the local fundraising is still absolutely imperative. Like we just had a tremendously successful event season. Our first season back, we were similar in numbers to where we were in 2019. Everybody was back, they were getting out, our chapters were fired up, which is awesome to see. And I want to give a shout out to all those people because it takes those volunteers and chapter committees that put these events together. And we just came off an amazing fundraising season. We can't go out and get these larger funded agreements without those dollars raised through events, through the work that Glenn does with philanthropy. So there are really two operating buckets. There's our operations that keep RGS running, that keep people employed out there chasing these funded agreements. And then there are the funded agreements coming in. So there's really two incredibly important parts of it. And our chapters and members and the fundraising season we just had are absolutely vital to that operations piece that lets us go and dig up 10 million bucks worth of mission-based funding.
Wow.
Does that make sense? That is there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so
That's really
just not
important.
having heard, not having heard the numbers in a while. So when someone goes to a local banquet, what percentage of money can they expect staying local to their state? Obviously not like necessarily local in their area, but what, when someone, if a banquet raises money, what percentage of money is going to stay, so they know, right? When you go to it, your money's not just heading to Pennsylvania and off to do something on the East Coast. If you live in Wisconsin or Minnesota, how does that get allocated?
Yeah, Wisconsin or Minnesota or Michigan or New York or the Southern Apps or wherever you're at. So with the local fundraising dollars, and Pike is based in Michigan, so let's just use Michigan for an example. And we ran these numbers as part of our annual report just a couple weeks ago. When we look at funds raised through chapter events in Michigan, part of those stay in the state drummer fund directly from the local event. They stay in the state drummer fund. For other events, those funds stay in the chapter reserve accounts directly with that chapter in the state, and other funds go to national RGS. Now, the key point here is at the end of the day, we're over 100% of the funds raised in Michigan are coming back to Michigan. When you think about staff salary, making sure that Larry Partridge is working as the state coordinator, part of John Staggerwald's time. We've got Nick Bougie that's helping the chapters with coordinating those events. So it's over 100% coming back to Michigan overall. And the chapters and the local drummer accounts are holding some of those funds locally. And what we like to do with those drummer accounts, and I can't remember where the Michigan drummer is at right now. Let's say it's around $30,000. What we want to do going forward, and what we're doing in a lot of states, is using those Michigan or state drummer funds as match against these other funded agreements. So for example, if we're going after, and we just scored one of these in Michigan, a $250,000 grant, there's usually at least a 50-50 match that we have to be able to put up. So to get the 250,000, we have to come up with another 250 in cash or in-kind services to be able to get that agreement. So if we can apply drummer funds in that way, then we're leveraging those funds many times 3, 4, even 10 to 1. So it's not like a bullet statement answer, Dave.
Yeah.
But ultimately, all of those funds raised in Michigan, plus some, are coming back to support programs in Michigan.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a question a lot of people have,
Yeah.
when they look at, I don't know, I'm not too involved in like Pheasants Forever, but they'll tout that, the money raised at their banquet can all get used for local project or whatever. So just creating some sort of comparison for people who may be involved with other things to just kind of have an idea of how that money is going to get allocated should they participate.
So one of the things we're working on for this summer is revising our chapter manuals and information that we're providing to the chapters, so that we're really communicating all this. We want to work with our chapters to take a look at it and see if it makes sense, and make sure that everybody feels that it's working well for the work that's being done in their state. So that's a big project for this summer. And our engagement coordinators, some of whom you all that are on may have gotten to meet at events over the past few months, they're just coming off of event season. So here for the summer months, when they don't have quite as many events, they're working on revising our chapter manual and making sure we're coordinating that well, because you're right, Dave. A lot of people don't understand exactly how the finances work.
Yeah.
I want absolute 110% full transparency on all the finances. There's nothing to hide there. So we want to get
Yeah.
our chapters more engaged on that.
Cool. Yeah, I know. I've had people ask me that in the past too. And it's kind of like, well, I mean, I like to say it is, but how do you necessarily respond to that? So I think that's a
Well,
question.
we need to give you the fact sheet and a page you can hand back and say, boy, I'm glad you asked that. Here it is.
Yeah.
That's what we're working on.
Awesome.
Does,
Just a
Um,
side, I was gonna say,
Go ahead,
just a side note to that is, as a chapter president for 12 years of RGS, I think people want to know that, they think that they want all the money they want to know that the money's being used locally, but I've always told them, like, the national forest thing is such a big deal that it's not really local money that moves the needle on that. It's Washington, DC. And, and I think, Ben, the results are showing for themselves at this particular point in time, but it was a long road to get there. Right. And I think that, once people kind of understand that, hey, you might not be able to say, hey, my money from this bank was going to go into this habitat project on Worth Road in Hesperia, Michigan, or whatever it is. But if you can say, hey, my money from this bank was going to the Zone Aspen project in the Huron-Manistee National Forest, I mean, that is way more beneficial to all of us as grouse hunters than doing I love doing habitat projects. It makes me feel good. I think it's a feel good thing. But at the end of the day, 10 guys going out there and affecting 100 acres is better than nothing. But having, a feller buncher into, 5 different 100-acre cuts that they're checkerboarding across and creating thousands of acres of habitat is far more effective for us to get more birds in the ground and more opportunities to go hunting.
Brent,
Sure.
that's really well said. And for folks that are just coming on, that sorry, I'm not all suited up just for this event. I just flew in the door before this.
Sure.
Flew in the door before this started from Washington, D.C. So Brent, you bring up a really good point. The work that we're doing locally on the Huron-Manistee or on the Ottawa or wherever, the Allegheny, wherever you're at, it starts with that advocacy in DC. And one of those opportunities came up, and I beat feet down there, and yeah, that's a really important part of the overall equation. Is that occurring right in the zip code where you hunt? No, it's not. But without those meetings in Washington, D.C., those other things can't happen. So I really appreciate you bringing that up.
Glenn,
Awesome.
Glenn, do you have any idea as far as our state, is there a state that has the most chapters, or because, we're all proud of Michigan here, or do we have a little work to do in Michigan compared to some other places? This is just being natty.
Looking at it, Michigan may not have the most chapters. I think there's states that have more chapters, but our chapters, Brent's chapter, when he ran it there in Muskegon, the Grand Rapids chapters, we have multiple more events, secondary events that put, as Ben said, money into those chapters reserves account that they can then spend on habitat projects. And I think, that's where the bloom really grows. So you look at the habitat project that the Grand Rapids chapter did in conjunction with Muskegon a few weeks ago on the Huron-Manistee. We put in 1,000+ soft mash trees under Larry Partridge's tutelage or guidance. Along with that, in conjunction to the Zone Aspen Management Program. What just happened with the Roger Moore chapter in the Pigeon River State Forest. And Larry Partridge, again, just got named to the Pigeon River Advisory Council. So we now have a RGS staff member on that advisory council. So, with shoots and habitat days, dog trials, birds and brews, we do have more events in the state, but we don't have as lock and stock as many chapters. But I think we're very engaged here, and that's why we're moving forward, and why Ben's invested the money in Michigan through the organization has had. I always go back and say, not wearing this on my sleeve, I've been a longtime volunteer before I took this second career and went to work for the organization, because of Ben's absolutely
Consistent.
driven conservation perspective. But if you'd have told me 5 years ago we would have Nick and John and Larry and myself, we would have had 5 full-time people working in the state of Michigan, plus Seth now in the UP. So actually we have 5.
Wow.
I would have said, well, I'll believe it when I see it, but the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
Because of these large landscape under this, and I know Ben hates when I say new model, but under this new business plan going forward, where we're working with large landscape projects with the Federal Forest Service, and they're asking for our assistance, our help to get these things done. And we're able to fund it for the benefit of all of us.
Yeah.
In young habitat improvement.
Yeah, I was just seeing if Michigan was number 1. That's all. It was
Okay.
just personal. Yeah.
Sorry.
Of course, Michigan's number
Right, but that's what I was thinking. That's what I was thinking.
my long-winded answer, me not to ask a short question.
No.
Glenn, to piggyback off what you said, I actually had a good conversation with a customer today who's a big field trial guy, and he's like, I can't make the thing tonight. But he's like, ask him why bird numbers are just not what they were 60 years ago. And I said, I can tell you, it's habitat. And I said, I said that's really what it boils down to. And I said, I can tell you, from my own personal experience. I mean, I'm a neophyte in grouse hunting. I've been doing it for 20 years. I know, I feel like I know less now than I did 20 years ago in a lot of ways, but I can tell you, from the areas that I hunt, there's a lot of stuff that's too old, but there's a lot of stuff that's just too young, which, bodes well for the next generation. And I hope that people that are out there that are, out, because he's like, I can find woodcock, no problem. Like, well, if you're finding a lot of woodcock, but not a lot of grouse, that's, my answer to you is I would assume is correct. It's like, listen, it's not, Ben's plan is awesome, but it's not snap your fingers and there's more grouse tomorrow. I mean, it takes time to get this habitat, get to the level that it needs to be for grouse to be able to use it. And it takes years to be, you can't just cut once and say, oh, here's all our great bird habitat. Now it's going to take years to do it. And I can see it from the habitat perspective of things that, hey, things are getting better, but we just have to be patient a little bit, and unfortunately the other thing we deal with is we can't help with if we get rain, a lot of rain between June 1st and June 14th, we're not going to probably have a lot of grouse next year. It's just an unfortunate situation with that. But I mean, I think that, as an end user of what RGS is doing, I'm extremely optimistic about what's going on.
I always refer to woodcock as they're the instant gratification species, because man, you make habitat, they are in it like right now.
Yeah.
They move in very quickly. True early successional habitat, where a lot of times with grouse, those stands are 4, 5, 6, depending on the growing site, 7, 8 years old before they're prime habitat. But man, the woodcock will move in there and make you feel good about what you're doing.
Well, it's like T-ball, it's like, just because you can hit the ball off of a tee, it's okay. It's not grouse.
I love the doodles.
I love them
You-
too, but I've actually got to the point where I like finding them, but it's like there's not a big return on investment with the woodcock. I'd rather just let them fly away and maybe shoot one for a young. I know some guys that literally hunt woodcock, and I always find it just a little. I don't know. I say creepy, but like that's not what it's all about. It's not. It's a little easy. It is.
You've never seen me shoot, Ron. I got to tell you,
Are they a challenge for you, Glenn? Are they a challenge?
everything's a challenge for me, Ron.
I've seen Ron shoot. There's probably a challenge there too. So
I am a deadly. Have you ever seen my website? I'm ranked 35th in the top 10 shooters in this country.
But who's
I've hunted with
voting on
Ron a
that?
few times. I have to say, Ron's a better shot than he gives himself credit to be. I'll say that much. I mean, Ron, when he pulls a trigger, most times there's gonna be a dead bird at the end of that trigger slap. So I mean, don't let him bullshit you too much.
And that's because my dogs don't point good, and you've got to be ready. You've got to be ready. You give me a good steady dog and a solid point on a grouse, I'll whiff it every time.
I got to end this on just a huge positive note about the timber doodles. They have so much to offer. For one thing, occurring in places where ruffed grouse do not. And when we look right now at the opportunity to hunt a truly wild bird, woodcock are like it. I mean, there's pen release quail and various places, and of course put and take pheasants, but across a lot of this country, woodcock are your truly wild bird option. And I think the challenge is different with woodcock, and for me it's kind of this puddle jumping idea of looking at these smaller covers, because you can go into a 10-acre cover and have a pretty sporting day and get your dog some amazing work and maybe bring a few birds home with woodcock. If you have isolated 10-acre patch of forest amidst the large land agricultural landscape, you don't have any game with grouse, but the woodcock can get you there, and a great species for starting dogs. I mean, there are just so many things that the timber doodles bring to the table. One of my favorites, so I don't get like beat to death by you guys and hate mail. But man, I love the timber doodles. They bring a lot to the picture.
I don't think anybody's saying that timber doodles didn't get us through a day of hunting. Trust me. It's just when you get a grouse, it's kind of like you forget about timber doodles.
I'm one of those dudes that will base a day of hunting on thinking about timber doodles solely. So that I just give a shout out to that little bird.
Oh, they're fun. They're fun for the dog. They're fun for the dog work too. I mean, they're great for dog work, especially you carry a camera. They're always great because they'll tend to hold a little tighter than a grouse will, and a little more visible. So
They'll smile.
They're interesting. In fact, we don't know a fraction of I don't think what there is to know about woodcock, what they're doing on these migrations, and the Eastern Woodcock Migration Study that we've been funding. We're finding out these really interesting things, like last fall a woodcock takes off from Rhode Island and goes nonstop till it hits Kentucky. Like, what's that about? A bird's flying 400 miles in a night, and where they stop, and what's going on in that whole breeding march back from the wintering grounds. These birds are migrating, they're touching down, they're in stopover habitat, they're displaying, they're breeding. I mean, what's going on with all that? So we get nests in late February in Louisiana. Do those birds have enough time to pull off a nest and then migrate and do the same thing in early June in Maine? Maybe. There's just a lot we don't know about them yet, too. They're pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. Do those still on?
Really
I never well, I can't say the word. Do they tell you how high they fly when they migrate, or are they just jumping all night long?
No,
Short
they get,
flights.
that's another really cool thing. They get way up there and cruise at pretty high altitudes. And I'd be over my skis if I started talking about how high they fly, but they do get way up there and cruising
Yeah, I
altitude.
just wondered, do they glide or they catch thermals or
Man, if you're going from Rhode Island to Kentucky, you better be getting up there and catching some kind of tailwind, right?
yeah.
You're not stopping every 20 minutes, that's for sure.
Man,
No, that's crazy.
Well,
Well, yeah, Ben, we've talked a lot about a lot. What I guess beforehand we were saying what's kind of some visions for the future of Rough Grouse Society. What are some things you guys have on the horizon? What are some things you hope to do that you're not quite there yet? What do you see coming on the future of RGS?
oh, for us, it's really staying on this trajectory that we've built for habitat delivery. That's where we hang our hat. That's our mission focus. And we've started to really ramp up, and I give you a few numbers and the agreements we have on public lands where we didn't have them before at the scale. So all that's taken off. So it's really just keeping that momentum going. And if you it's going like this, and then the dotted line keeps going up here, making sure we're still on that dotted line and making sure that we're efficient and that we're putting people in the right places to deliver the work, and making sure that our members and our chapters stay motivated, because we can't do it without that support as well. So I think those are the two biggest things really, is keeping the momentum and keeping the growth that we've started for habitat delivery, and always improving on our ability to communicate. And so if y'all didn't see it from our social media or other places that it's been posted, we're recruiting right now for a vice president of communications and marketing as well. And that investment, just it goes to show the importance that we're putting on that, Dave, like we were talking a little bit ago, making sure our chapters really understand and are well communicated with about how the funding is being used and what it all means.
Yeah, I think that's real important. You got, I guess you personally, where do you do you have areas that RGS, besides communication, just as far as, you've done so much work, like you're saying, now we have, what do you say, 5 or 6 people here in Michigan alone, where it used to be kind of one. Where do you see RGS expanding? Where do you see, not even just state by state, but just across the country, how do you see RGS expanding its capabilities and reach over the next couple of years?
Yeah, well, it's really, so the forest conservation directors, when they were one in each region, wrote their business plans, and now we're seeing what they had included in their business plans being realized. So it's keeping up with that structure, because as you grow at the rate that we've grown, it can quickly happen that your staff are underwater. And so making sure that we've got a good staff structure and that we're able to deliver efficiently, and we have people and good people in the right places. And it's been pretty exciting over the last months. And so a lot of our agreements with the Forest Service is they don't have the staffing or the people in some cases to get the work done. And it's been really encouraging for me to see the success that we've had in recruiting over the past 24 months. And I think our momentum, the word is getting out, and people who are interested, young professionals who are interested in forestry and wildlife, are seeing Rough Grouse Society, American Woodcock Society as a good place to work. So for me, in my seat, I need to make sure that that's the case, that nobody's getting buried under too much work, that we have the right structure, that we have the right operation, that those people want to stay here and have a long, fruitful career here. And we're building out in every region. We've had forest wildlife specialists and state forestry coordinators added in every one of the regions. We've got a new position in Vermont, a new one in Northern New York. Like I said, the Pennsylvania coordinator. There's going to be a coordinator position coming open in the Southern Appalachians. We've got half a dozen or 7 new staff there. So that's a lot of it from my seat, is just making sure we have the structure to keep delivering really efficiently. And making sure that this is a good place for people to work as well. But,
Yeah.
Is there this might be a not fair question without having stats in front of you. So if you took it from when you started, Ben, how many employees was there then and now? Or do you, I don't want to be an unfair question, but roughly
it's more than doubled.
more than doubled. That's
and most of that occurring after from late 2020 on, mid to late 2020 on.
Yeah.
So I really feel like that's kind of our coup d'etat right there, when we're adding staff and growing in our impact this way beginning in 2020. And that's pretty strong.
That's very strong. Any company would love to double their staff.
Yeah.
But I'm sure Pike would love to double their staff, wouldn't they, Brett?
Especially if I can do less work.
Oh no. Ben signs up. When Ben doubles his staff, he signs up for, he's like self-employed. You can work any 80 hours a week you want,
Yeah.
But
Pick your 80.
I want
That's what Brett's doing.
Members and supporters to understand that as we're adding these staff positions per the business plans, those staff positions are being added as they can be through these funded agreements,
right,
or grants, that we're not just going wild and adding staff. I mean, we've got to incrementally do this as our forest conservation directors are securing grants, securing agreements with state agencies or the Forest Service to be able to fund those positions. Now, that other part that I mentioned, let's look at Pittman-Robertson. I think most people understand at this point what Pittman-Robertson is. If we do a Pittman-Robertson agreement with the state to hire a forester for habitat delivery, we're on the hook for 25% of that cost. So it's awesome to get 75% from a state agency agreement. We still got to come up with that 25%. And that's where our local fundraising really comes in, and it's more important than ever.
So we still got to keep moving forward on chapters, chapter events, and all the other stuff we do.
It's more important than ever. And to the communications piece, those funds are leveraged more than ever. That's the really exciting part to me. Yeah, Dave, you've been at this for a while, Dave. I mean, that's kind of
that leveraging is huge.
Yeah. Yep.
The biggest thing I think is that I've seen is, RGS seemed to really put their foot on the gas in the last 12 to 18 months. Running a company, I've had times where I've slacked off, and you see when you take your foot off the gas, you don't see it immediately, but you see it 30, 60, 90 days down the road, like, damn it, and I think that RGS has done a really good job in the last year and a half of keeping your foot on the gas and keeping the pressure on to keep moving things forward. I mean, there's been more positive things coming through RGS in the last year and a half than I can remember in the last 10 years combined. So, I mean, that's kudos to you, Ben, and your leadership on getting that stuff done. And I mean, could you do better? Absolutely. We always can do better, right? I mean, we're always trying to, come up with new ideas to communicate and get more members involved. But I think, the trajectory is in the right direction. We just got to, hopefully Glenn, Dave, Ron, myself, and yourself can, help a little bit, keep the foot on the gas and keep things moving in the right direction. So, the next 10 years are better than the last 10 years.
That's a tremendous compliment, and it means a ton, Brent, because, man, you've been at it too for a while, and I think that's the name of the game. Overall, what's the forward vision, like Dave asked? It's keeping the foot on the gas. But you appreciate this as a business owner too. You got to keep your foot on the gas and making sure that you've got the right people, right bus, right seats.
Yeah,
and
absolutely
keeping driving it forward.
All right, I'm gonna put this out there to our audience. If you have questions, go ahead and throw those in the chat comments over there. If you have questions for Ben specifically, but I guess for any of us, go ahead and throw this. Ben, there is one that already came through, and it said, and I don't know how specific you're going to know information, but it says, with the Forest Service agreements, will there be more aspen management in the Huron-Manistee National Forest? And maybe Glenn has more insight to that.
Yeah, so the big deal right now on the Huron Manistee was the project that got approved, that Zone Aspen project that got through the administrative hurdles probably a year, 18 months or so ago. And so now we're at the implementation phase of the Zone Aspen project, where we've got to be cutting a couple thousand acres per year to stay with the goals of that plan. And we want to make sure we're not falling short, because you go through all the administrative hurdles, the NEPA approvals, the environmental impact assessments, the scoping, the public comment periods, all that stuff that takes years and years. Now we've got 30,000 acres approved or so through Zone Aspen. We need to make sure that we're working with the Forest Service to make sure that they have the capacity to get those sales laid out on the ground. So yeah, that's what we're working on now. But Zone Aspen is in the hopper. But to my point about it taking years to get the next round started through the administrative process, we have to make sure that we're working on the planning with the Forest Service to get the next cycle started, get them through the NEPA planning, the public scoping and all that, so that when Zone Aspen's done, the next thing is just, heel to toe, boom, we're moving into the next project. And we have to do that on every national forest.
Yeah. And actually so a question came in from Danny, said, have you seen rough grouse populations increase with the work you've been doing? If so, how much? Again, it's not a turnaround, do it this year, see it next year sort of project. Are there, and I know it kind of stopped here in Michigan for a while, is anyone doing grouse surveys, drummer surveys, population surveys?
Yeah, so the one example that I can point to with grouse response to management, and that actually a lot of this work predated, it was things that I was working on when I was with our state wildlife agency in Pennsylvania, and work that started around 2010. And we had continuous monitoring, not just for grouse, but songbirds across the board of interest. And those dynamic forest restoration areas, which is how we're referring to our landscape scale work, are showing those grouse responses now. But like I said, that work started when I was on the state side in 2009, 2010, which is about right. It takes you 8 or 9 years to start showing that population response for grouse. Something else that we're doing is doing some of the population monitoring, and you alluded to this, Dave, is anybody doing monitoring surveys? And some states are still doing drumming counts, some are not. This is pretty cool. There's new technology out there, automated recording units, ARUs, that can be placed out in late winter and picked up at the end of spring, and they record all the birds that are in that area. So it's like a drumming count where you don't have to have a human going out there every morning, and it's recording all bird songs, but it picks up woodcock and rough grouse drumming. So we're able to do that population monitoring now with this new technology that just came out in the last, it's still being perfected, but it's just come out in the last couple of years.
What kind of area does that cover?
Oh, that's a good question. Like, what's the listening?
Yeah, I would
radius?
say, does it cover 5 acres? Does it cover half mile? Like, what what the listening radius is on that?
That's a really good question. I don't know, but I can tell you for a human on a drumming survey, it's of course widely variable, but you can't figure more than about 50 yards radius from the human on a drumming survey.
Wow.
I say I was in the UP a couple weeks ago, and I had 5 or 6 birds drumming around me, probably all within a couple hundred yards. So
yeah,
it does taper off pretty quick.
Yeah, and the work I did with that was in mountainous regions where it depends if it's uphill or downhill. So your listening radius
Yeah.
downhill is shorter than it is uphill if it's above you. But those automated units take a lot of that human error and human variability out.
The
So we'll-
sensitivity can be much higher.
Point being, we'll be able to have a much better handle on monitoring population responses to this stuff going forward.
For sure. Does RGS own that equipment, or are you getting that from state agencies?
No, we're working with partners, and a lot of it's through academic institutions, so universities, but also with funding from state agencies. And here's a great example of that tool being funded, and this actually funded by Pittman Robertson. So the state wildlife agency came in with PR funds, covered 75%. The additional 25% of non-federal match came from a state drummer fund that kicked in to purchase those units and put them out over a couple years. So there's an example of state drummer funds being used as Pittman Robertson match to put these things on the ground.
God, there's a lot of moving
we-
parts.
But we really depend on our university partners for stuff like that. So again, our mission focus is the habitat delivery. I don't need to own RGS doesn't need to own a bunch of these expensive units. But if we can contract with our university partners who have grad students and people that can put these things out, then that's how we're doing that.
So basically, Ben, are we saying that we need to make habitat sexy? Like we need to make habitat, somebody wants to get into college, that's their career.
Habitat's not sexy.
Habitat should be sexy.
Look at the tie, Ben. Look at the tie.
Habitat's not sexy. What do you mean?
I think
Oh.
habitat should be sexy.
Yeah, man, it's not glorious work. It's not, but at the end of the day, and
I think
this is not-
a big hurdle is people see the cutting, and so many people think it's so ugly when it happens. I think that's a big issue across the board. Is you'll even hear grouse hunters say, "Oh, I hate when they cut a huge 80 120 section or whatever," and it's it doesn't look great for 5 years, and then once that starts maturing, their mind changes real quick. But I think that's a lot of it. It just doesn't look nice up front.
or it's tough to get through because the tops are still there, and man, is
Yep.
briar's tearing you to pieces. But yeah, so all right, I guess it's not all that sexy. It's
They
kind
had a
of
good pair of
ugly
pike-
work.
They had a good pair of pike pants. The briars wouldn't tear into tear into pieces.
That's what I'm talking about.
Shameless plug.
He hits it out of the park.
Well, Ron, we're gonna rely on you to bring sexy back then.
All right, I'm gonna bring sexy back right now. You got some more questions, Dave, from people?
No one's asking questions too much
Well,
here.
I've
Oh wait,
got-
someone did say habitat is sexy, so that's good. They're at least agreeing with us here. But
I
no, I don't have any questions.
have some questions.
Yeah, well, hold on, Brent. What are we gonna give something away to some winners here?
Yeah, let's have 2 questions, and
Yeah.
let's do $50 gift cards to each of the winners. How about that?
Okay,
Now-
first person to type the right answer. You got to type the right answer into the chat. You can't just say it out loud because we aren't going to hear it. So
Right. All right. So
Ron's
I got this information on good authority. That's all I'm telling you. You can't fact check this. You can't challenge Dave if he picks you. But I'd like to know how many listeners out there know what the average length of a grouse drumming is when you heard the first beat to the last beat, the average length. How's that one?
That's a good one.
the first beat.
Yeah, like
Wow, that's a tough one.
boom, 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 boom,
Yep.
boom, all that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How long does it last?
How long is the average drum?
Drum.
The average. Okay.
Is anybody answered, or are they all like, oh, I don't know.
No one's coming in yet.
That is a really cool question.
I have
I
a
like
pretty good
that.
idea. I have a pretty good idea, but
You can't answer, Dave.
I've got a lot of video that tells me what it is.
Right. No, And I'm gonna tell you at the end where I got all this information from, so you can't
That's
contest.
fair. That's
It-
fair.
Anybody have? I can't believe now.
The answers are pouring in, so we'll give them a couple seconds here because it's quite a varied range of answers. I think some are closer than others. 2 minutes, that's a good one.
Anyway,
My grouse a couple weeks ago drummed once every minute and a half, almost like clockwork.
I'm not asking how often.
No, I know what you're saying. I'm saying that, but I'm just saying he was drumming every minute and a half.
Oh yeah. Sometimes they're like a teenager. You know, they're just like, oh.
he pretty much.
They're quick on the reboot.
Yeah. Exactly.
Uh,
We're getting a
Going to
lot of
be
answers.
18 again.
People are paying attention, that's for sure. All right, Ron, we've got enough answers here. Go ahead. We're gonna pick the first answer that's dead on since we have so many. So,
All right.
Ron, what is your answer that's on good authority?
My research from a icon that I hit on the Ruffed Grouse Society page, and I timed it on my watch. It was 8 seconds.
8 seconds?
8 seconds.
Again, like a teenager.
That's okay.
Did anybody come up with 8 seconds?
Yeah. Our number 2 response was 8 seconds by TN Bell. Yeah, we actually had a couple 8 seconds. There's a few people in here, so
Yep.
people must have been reading the website.
They might have. Not
Yeah,
saying, they did, but they might have.
I would have put it closer to like 12, but yeah, 8 seconds. That's the answer. So
I suppose it's variable, but
yep.
the source that I went to for that, which was the Ruffed Grouse Society homepage. So nobody's going to be able to contest that.
You can just
Think
call
about it.
Ben.
It's like
His number is 555-123.
don't call me. Yeah.
My guess.
TN Bell.
seven.
They got it. 8 seconds. So
Mhm.
if you're still paying attention, shoot me an email. I put my email on there in the chat.
What are they gonna win, Brent?
$50.
baby.
Nice.
$50 for 8 seconds of work. That's
Did you have more than two winners? Does there have to be like
got
a
another
we
lottery
have,
drop?
no, we're gonna do another question. There's actually quite a few people said 8 seconds. So that's
Nice, smart.
I mean, a lot of people were close. I mean, to me, yeah, 8-10 seconds is
So I've got
gonna
a
be
couple,
right
I've
in
got
there.
a
So.
couple questions here. They're a little
right.
esoteric, so I want to get the questions that somebody could answer on the chat. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Wait, is this one for a prize? Or is this just questions you're putting out?
I don't know how many prizes does Brent want to give away.
We were gonna do 2, I think, right?
Those.
2. So give us the prize one first, and then we can go to more general trivia.
Okay. All right. This is for the second Pike Gear prize.
Okay.
And somebody's gonna have to type. All right. The goshawk is the most effective predator of rough grouse, but they are uncommon. What predator kills more grouse across their range than any other predator? Go.
Oh man, Ben's got it. Okay,
Anybody
predator.
have-
We're looking for the predator. The answers aren't rolling in yet. People are Googling. The
So
fingers
just
are
your
fast and
FYI,
furious.
Cheaters, they're cheating.
There was a study done in the UP, I think it was the UP, and they tracked.
Don't give the answer out.
No. This is about goshawks, and I think I'm going to screw this up, but there's a study out there. I think that there's one goshawk that killed like 150 grouse in a year.
Apparently, they are the most effective, but there's just a lot less of them. So I think what we all
Lots of them.
we need to have the anti-goshawk society.
Like
Not
someone put chipmunks.
I bet you. I'm not gonna say anything.
I know. Yeah, no, I know. I'm feeling the same. I think I'm headed toward where Brent is, but
Is there any
all right,
answers?
answers are still rolling in. We'll give everybody a second here to get their answer. hit the final answer button, and then we'll see what Ron has here for this. I got a pretty good. I think there's a few that could be right. The West Nile mosquito.
I just want.
That's a good answer.
Waiting for one of these dummies to say coyotes.
Me.
Not you.
Oh no, we got one coyote.
Oh, come on.
A couple coyotes.
I
Never mind.
think
There's
it's
a
game
couple
over.
coyotes.
It's game over with the Kulex mosquito. I wasn't thinking that initially, but that is the villain.
I mean,
Right
the
there.
mosquito has killed more human beings than anything on the world, right?
That's true, but I will tell you, it's not an insect. It's not an insect. When
All
I say
right, we've got quite a few answers, Ron. Let's give the right
All
one
right.
here.
the number one, okay, the predator that kills more grouse across their range than any other predator is the horned owl.
The horned owl.
Great horned
All
owl.
right, so
Great horned
great
owl.
horned owl. And you know what? We've got that. Jackson Huffstetler.
Give it to him.
Huffstetler. Horned owl. There it is.
He didn't have great.
He doesn't have gray. He's got horned owl.
Then he doesn't win.
Oh, now you're
Wow.
gonna be like Spencer Newhart.
I don't know.
Well,
Is there a lesser horned owl? Is there other
Oh.
horned owls than the great? Well, I
But
think he's good.
going back to the chipmunk thing, I have read that the red squirrel is one of the worst nest raiders of all species out there, that those little bastards kill a lot of grouse eggs.
Well, see, I think there's a difference between predator, meaning, on a
Yes.
living creature, as opposed to nest raiders.
I would agree. Yeah, for sure. I would say that that's two different things.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now, I would like to ask a few questions to this panel. Is there any way that you could get a piece of paper and a marker, or pencil, so you could give your answer, and you're going to have to hold it up to your screen? Ben, don't, Ben, don't make that face. Ben. All right. Dave's got a piece of paper.
All right.
Hold on.
I'm terrible at trivia. I'm gonna be terrible at
Hold
this.
on.
But I've
No,
got
this
it ready.
This is all grouse related. We're all grouse hunters. Okay. Come on.
All right. I'm a grouse chaser. I don't know about hunter.
Well, that's close
You kill a
enough.
limit one day, Dave.
What?
I saw you
I've
kill a
killed
limit one day.
Yeah, that's the only time. One time, and it was kind of cheating.
I haven't killed a limit in a decade.
Not illegal cheating, but kind of cheating.
It was a target-rich environment that day.
Very target-rich environment.
A couple of these are going to take.
Hey.
You got to have a pen and paper.
Yep. Yeah, I got a pen and paper.
Well,
And-
while everybody's getting that around, just a
All
quick note, and seeking paper, I just found this, and it's our most recent audited financials.
Oh.
And for last year, 2022, we were in fact at 90 cents on the dollar toward mission delivery at RGF.
Wow.
You can't
Awesome.
beat that.
So,
That's amazing.
as I was looking for scrap paper, I'm going to use the back of the audited financials.
All
Where
right.
does those paper
Hey,
come
Ben.
from, Ben?
And I printed the audited financials. Yes, Brent, thank
We
you.
More
recommend
trees.
people print everything they possibly can, because we know that Aspen is a
Right.
primary wood pulp source for paper. So buy
That's
your
right.
local newspaper. It's a shitty New York Times and stuff like that. Buy your newspaper and
Wipe your butt.
support wood pulp harvesting.
Could you imagine if newspapers came in vogue again? We wouldn't have anything to worry about. They'd be cutting trees down like a buzzsaw.
I bet you they will at some point in time.
Well, all
Wouldn't
right.
it be cool if everybody like ordered stuff and had it shipped to their house in boxes? Wait,
Yeah,
Oh,
especially
wait,
from
what?
Pike Gear
from Pike Gear.
Exactly.
or Great Lakes Fly
All right.
Fishing Company or the Hunting Dog Podcast or
yeah,
the
I
Oakland
sell a few
Institute.
things. I gotta get a beer. Oh,
was like, I'm ready. I got my marker and
All right.
everything.
I think
You guys, all right, you guys
I
are
got an
ready.
ink
Come on, Ron,
pen.
let's go.
I don't have a marker.
Just
Sorry.
I
as long,
figured it'd be more visible,
as long as you can hold it up and I can read it. Okay.
Okay, great.
Now,
Great.
people playing along can play, but I want to see on this panel of 4 astute grouse hunters that you get some of these. I'm expecting one person to get them all correct because this person lived in a sleeping bag with grouse in the southern Appalachians, and he spent.
See, this is the kind of stuff.
Hey,
This is why we do this. Come on.
Ben, it's not like I'm
Why I
asking.
get
Hi, Becca
twitchy.
Jones.
I'm not asking.
Dr. Jones, you have the book.
I'm not asking you to play the guitar. Now, come on. You can't get shy on us now.
Easier than
Dr.
grouse.
Jones, hold on to your potatoes.
Come on, come with the questions.
All right, here it is. And this is educational for the listener. There are
Okay, great.
58 color variations of the tail on grouse, but they're lumped into 4 color categories. Name the 4 color categories. Do. Don't be looking it up on your computer, Ben. Oh no.
Look,
Ben's got his Ben's got his Birds of North America book out.
All right, people. If you're on the chat, what are the it's 4?
There's 4. They're lumped into 4. Lump being
Man. I know what I call them. I guess I don't know what the technical terms
that's
are.
fine. Let's see who's got what they got. Look, Ben's reading a book right now. Ben's cheating. Brent,
this is how you
Brent had
retain
questions.
brain space.
I'm waiting for Glenn and Ben, the 2 employees of Rough Grouse Society.
Now I'm double checking
I
your
had-
answer because I'm not
I had
sure
brown,
about that
red,
horned thing.
multi, and copper.
Yeah. What do you got, Ben? Come on.
I have brown here.
Is brown? I didn't know brown was a color.
Well, brown is a color.
Well, no, I didn't know brown was one of them. I believe Brent though. He knows his stuff.
Okay. Ben, is there any chance Ben could give us a couple colors here?
Well, the book of the Rough Grouse has 2. It's essentially brown and gray. So I don't know where you're coming up with 4. I think it's blue.
I everything I got today came off the Rough Grouse Society website. Okay.
What do they know?
All right. What do you have for colors? Ben,
I
it's
lost
just
him.
brown and gray.
Yeah.
And Glenn, what do you got?
I had brown, red, copper, and multi.
All right. Brent, what do you got?
I have gray, bronze, red, and brown.
All right. Dave, what do you got?
I had gray, red, crosser, mixed, and copper.
All right. According to the RGS website that I perused about 4 hours ago, there are 58 color variations in the tail of rough grouse, but they are lumped into 4 categories: silver gray, intermediate gray, brown, and red. I will accept brown, red, and gray.
I got 3 of them.
I did not put
4.
brown.
I
did not put
failed.
brown.
Intermediate. That's not a color, for God's sake.
I'm going off the Rough Grouse Society website.
Well, who's in charge of that website? Damn it!
They don't have one, so they're hiring a VP of communications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I say we're reviewing communication?
Here's something. Look
Case
at
in
Ben.
point.
Ben's typing in Rough Grouse Society website right now.
He's firing somebody via email.
I didn't know we had a website.
I got questions now. I got
All right.
questions.
You can't have questions. We're in the middle of a trivia game.
Well, I'm just saying. I guess that's brown. I'm trying to go through my fans and see what I got.
Brown.
Oh, that's
It's brown.
gray. That's gray.
I mean,
It's brown.
So that's red, right?
That's a red.
That's brown.
That's a red.
Brown.
That's red. I'm trying to find. I had that stupid copper here somewhere. I don't know, whatever.
Okay,
That's fine.
that is a
Okay,
very
next one. Great.
that is a variation. I'm saying they were lumped into.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Fine.
Okay, all right. So now
Okay. Okay.
here's
Okay,
another
we're
one
done.
for you guys. At one
Okay.
time,
Next one.
at one time, some of the New England states had bounties on ruffed grouse. Why? Ah, come on, think about it.
Because they were eating turkey eggs.
No. uh
I'm going disease. I don't know.
No.
Crop damage.
Okay. Well, I got to see what Ben.
Apple orchards in particular.
Now, Ben, what do you got? Don't.
I already
give
told
away
you they were eating turkey eggs.
All right, what do you got, Glenn?
I said apples.
All right, that is the answer. I'll give it to now, unless you stole it from Brent.
No, I wrote it down.
Okay,
Look,
you just
Crop
didn't show it.
damage for apples.
Feeding on flowering bud in apple orchards back
Yeah.
in.
That's
They
not
do-
apples. That's crop damage.
Well, it is.
They
crop.
love apples.
They love.
Yeah, they
they
do.
are a flower eating. All right, this is
Not
a
as much as they love turkey eggs.
Okay.
Oh,
All right.
That's pretty good, Ben.
This,
Pretty
Now-
good.
I expect
He's
the
doubling
answers,
down on it at least.
I expect these answers to come up a little quicker this time. Okay, this is a true or false question. At
boy.
17 weeks of age, a grouse is almost as large and heavy as it will ever be. True or false? At
17 weeks?
17 weeks, a grouse is almost as large and heavy as it will ever be.
true,
Oh
False.
true,
man, that's 17 weeks.
true.
And he said
true.
almost.
Yeah, it's.
I'm
I'm going true. I'm going true.
What do you got, Ben? Ben, hello.
Is that a bottle of milk you're drinking, Ron?
No, it's a bottle of Miller Lite.
Oh, I've never seen a bottle of Miller Lite like that. I'm sorry.
Ben,
I was
true.
dutifully impressed.
Ben, who did his PhD on grouse.
Well, with the caveat almost, yeah, I would have to say
At
Almost.
17 weeks, a
Oh,
grouse.
Oh, yeah, almost. I mean, that's
It's true.
hurt near.
It's true.
yeah.
You guys have never
17
seen
weeks
some of
is
the
a long
grouse
time.
I've shot in the UP that are like this freaking big.
I said almost.
Almost is a very vague term.
You know, my accounting professor in college said almost only counts in horseshoes and hand grenades.
Well, you're right.
That's true too.
Our last question is another true or false question. All right, you guys ready?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would love some immediate responses, not Ben Googling something. Okay. Many young birds claim a drumming log by the time they're 20 weeks old. Once they have done so, most of them will spend the remainder of their lives within a 300-yard radius of that log. True or false?
True.
True.
Man, I'm going false on that one. I'm probably
Okay.
wrong, but I'm going false.
We can't get an answer out of the doctor.
That's fine. That's
We're gonna
that's
devote
fine.
him to a associate.
Right? I think he was an
We got an
adjunct.
associate degree, Ben Jones on the line here with us.
You said 300 yards of a
Yeah,
drumming
that-
log. What also? Do they establish a drumming log that quick? That's my question.
Well, I'm only going off the Rough Grouse Society's information sheet that I looked at today. And it is true that most
Sure.
will spend the remainder of their lives within a 300-yard radius of that log.
I think
Scott
after the shuffle,
Rush.
they'd go a lot further.
Now,
Scott Grush, who we in our group called the Grouse Guru, says true.
thank you, Scott.
Former RGS employee.
Right, exactly. Well, that's all I got for no, I do have one. I have a tiebreaker, but there's no tie here. All right.
Ty.
What year did the Hunting Dog podcast start? Let's see
Ooh,
who's got that one. What year did the Hunting Dog podcast start? Don't
Oh, I'm off.
Oh, your
I think I'm
hands
off by
are up.
one.
show it to me. Brent's got one up there. Dave's got one up there.
I have no idea.
You were on the first year, Ben. Or I mean, Glenn.
It's gotta be-
2016.
Ben, when
I think 16 is my other answer.
you don't get two answers.
get
Ben.
one answer, Dave.
I already put my answer up. I'm
Put
just
his
saying.
answer up.
I put my answer up.
I need Ben's answer. This is winner takes all. What's your answer, Ben?
1980. One came across
Googled it.
1980.
Not the year I was born.
80,
Yeah.
not 1880.
1880.
Look at Ben. We just can't even. He gets a trivia question. He gets all buff.
Oh,
What-
yeah, I
what-
can't see it. What'd he put? He's got
What is
that
it?
blur out going. Oh, 16.
Oh, so
I think
close.
16.
Dave Velvin was correct. 2015.
Oh,
Wow.
it was. Okay. Second
Yeah.
guessed myself. Shouldn't have. That's like before
You got my
podcasts were even
lunch
like
next time you're
available,
down.
weren't they?
Yeah, yeah. I was a pioneer.
Yeah.
I was on the first year. Wow.
Yeah. I titled that one the what I call it, the Upland Librarian.
I'm getting old and gray.
You were old and gray when you came on in 2015.
Wow.
That's true. I am an old soul.
Mm,
Well,
all
was there
right.
any questions that came in, Dave, from anybody? Or
No, I
you
don't think anything. I don't think any questions. Let me see. I'm gonna go back through real quick.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us and having a little. Hopefully, you had a few beers with us this evening and enjoyed yourself and learned a few things. And if you haven't signed up for RGS already, please do so. If you haven't signed up for Pheasants Forever, please do so. I mean, we've got two organizations out there that are fighting for us to get more access and to get more birds, and we got to support them as best we can. I mean, if it's just a minimum membership, that's all you can do. Do it. If you can do more, do more. Do as much as you possibly can. Join your local chapter. Help those guys out. Join some habitat projects. You meet a lot of great guys and gals, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I've met some of my best friends through RGS, and I couldn't be more thankful for the things that RGS has provided me over the last 15 years. So thank you, RGS, for all you've done for me personally, not just, this type of stuff, but the friendships that I made will last a lifetime. So thank you.
And Brent, if I can jump in here on behalf of RGS and AWS and everybody that watched us tonight, thank you for taking time out of your lives to do that. If you're interested, go to our website, ruffedgrousesociety.org. If you want to do something fun this summer, we have lots of events in all of our regions, from the Southern Alps to Maine, throughout Michigan, throughout the Western Great Lakes states, shoots, habitat days, birds and brews. All of those events are out there. So please go to that and look on that. And also, I don't know if I'm being premature here, but we have 10
We're losing him.
end of August. And the other one will be later as kind of a holiday birds and brews. So thank you for watching. Look forward to seeing you again at these upcoming two virtual birds and brew sponsored by Pike and ourselves.
Nice.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody. Glad everyone was able to join. We had
Thank you,
lots
Dave.
of engagement tonight.
I want to.
And,
I gotta, me. I gotta have last word. I gotta wrap this up with one thing. Now, I would think that the people here are probably all on board, but if one of them isn't, my mantra has been in the last few years: if you hunt a wild bird, you owe it to the conservation group that supports the habitat for that bird. I cannot stand to find, when Ben told me 5 years ago in my house in Virginia, or 4 years ago, that the percentage of grouse hunters that are actually members, I almost lost it. And if you hunt that bird, you owe it to that organization that supports that habitat for that bird, period.
Agreed.
You do.
I can dig that.
Yeah.
We're working hard every day to deliver habitat that people can enjoy and these birds can prosper in. So 90 cents on the buck.
Pretty damn good.
That's good. That's a good return right there.
Dave, appreciate you for moderating. Brent, appreciate you for the rooftop here to shout it from. So and your partnership with RGS and AWS. It means a ton to us. Thank you. And Ronnie, always for your support, man. You're always there for us. So we appreciate you a whole bunch.
I got an idea for you after we kill the audio. I got to ask you a question.
I haven't
Okay.
podcasted
All right, well,
with you
well,
for a while.
we will,
Let's fire one of those up.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. Well, everyone have a good night. Thank you for joining. And if you missed some of this, it'll get posted on our Facebook page in the next couple days here. And then I believe Ron's going to actually post it as a podcast.
Yep. Get that word
So,
out.
yeah,
Big.
you'll be able to listen back to everything again if there's something you missed. But and it'll be on our YouTube channel as well. So thanks again, everyone. Thank you, Ben and Ron and Glenn, for